Now to the debate. Is Edward Snowden an enemy of the state, or is he a hero of the people? As Dan just mentioned, the Department of Justice is just now beginning its investigation of the former computer tech. No charges yet, but at least one congressman is calling Snowden's actions criminal.
It's not true, and there's so much he said that is untrue. This person is dangerous to the country. He had, I think, there's real questions as to why he left the CIA. The fact that he's in China right now, or in Hong Kong, which is a sub-state of China, and he knows where our intelligence assets are, who our intelligence agents are around the world, and the fact that he has allowed our enemy to know what our sources and methods are is extremely, extremely dangerous. I believe he should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I consider him right now to be a defector.
A defector, so says Congressman King. Let me bring in these two voices. Retired Army General James Spider Marks, who agrees that Edward Snowden should be prosecuted, and also with me again is syndicated columnist and radio host David Sirota. So, gentlemen, welcome. David Sirota, I go to you here off the top. How do you view what Snowden has done?
Well, I think that we should be most concerned with what Snowden has disclosed in terms of our constitutional rights. And I think people who want to turn the conversation to the person who disclosed this are people who either don't care about the United States Constitution and the Fourth Amendment, or who simply want to protect the political interests of the National Security Administration and the Obama administration. I think what should concern all Americans first and foremost is, why is the United States government, in what could be a potentially criminal and illegal and unconstitutional way, spying and surveilling millions and millions of Americans on an ongoing basis? And I think any effort to change the conversation away from that potential crime against millions and millions of people, and to a question about the person who's disclosed the crimes, is an attempt to say that people who expose potential crimes are the real criminals. It's an attempt, in a sense, to create an Orwellian definition of crime.
And I know you talk a lot about the Constitution, specifically the Fourth Amendment, and I want to get to that in just a moment, but let me just get a yes or no from you, David. Do you see him as a hero?
Look, I think we have to find out all of the disclosures, whether they were done properly, whether they were done with national security in mind. But okay, I think that whistleblowers in general, we need them, and they are heroes. General, you disagree?
I do. Look, the presumption of David's comment is that the U.S.'s activity in terms of national security is a crime, and that what this young man has revealed is a crime. That is not the case at all. In fact, we've got a big problem if the Justice Department, the executive, and the judicial all are now kind of rogue and moving down a path that we cannot trust. The real issue in my mind is you've got this young man who has the very highest security clearance, and he broke the rules. He doesn't have the right to do that. If he disagrees with the program that he was a willing participant in, he needs to step away, stop doing the job, stop taking the paycheck, and then get back into private life, drop the security clearance. And then he also has some non-disclosure issues because he's had exposure to this information. But he has a right at that point, he has every legal protection of the world to raise his hand and say, look, let me discuss this in terms that I can and tell you what I am thinking as a private citizen. He can't do that when he's totally embedded in the program, which he was.
I want the two of you all to have this conversation. Let me just play just for a viewer a little bit more of this Guardian interview where you hear Snowden basically saying he could be revealing more and that he could have sold the information he has. Here he was.
If I had just wanted to harm the U.S., that you could shut down the surveillance system in an afternoon. But that's not my intention, and I think for anyone making that argument, they need to think, if they were in my position, and you live a privileged life, you're living in Hawaii in paradise and making a ton of money, what would it take to make you leave everything behind?
And now he has. And David, to your point, sort of the concluding argument you make in your Salon piece is that the government, the U.S. government, asks its Americans when they see a possible crime being committed, what do they say? It's see something, say something. And your point is that he did exactly that.
That's right. And let me give you two examples here. I mean, the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, went before Congress and perjured himself and said that mass surveillance wasn't happening in the United States when he was asked a direct question. Same thing for the head of the NSA. So at one level, you could simply argue that someone like Edward Snowden saw these officials perjuring themselves before the United States Congress and went forward with information in one of the only ways that he could to call out blatant crime. I mean, you can find that videotape. It's out there. You can see James Clapper lying to Congress. And if we're going to have any chance of Congress actually regulating the NSA, then we need to make sure that information comes out so that Congress knows when it's being lied to by Obama administration officials and the NSA.
General?
Well, I'm not going to respond directly to David's comment.
Yeah.
These are really outrageous comments that he's making. The fact of the
What's
matter
outrageous
is,
about it?
What's
outrageous about it? James Clapper went before Congress and said there is no mass surveillance on the United States.
The fact of the matter is, this young man has been given a great privilege, as he indicated, and now we're supposed to hold him up as a great savior of the nation because he didn't reveal all. Frankly, he didn't have the keys to the kingdom. He was a very significant piece because of the clearance. He has a very significant access, and he's a very significant piece of this overall apparatus that exists to try to protect our national securities. And this isn't blatant data mining. This is what's known as traffic analysis, pattern analysis, that entities talk to entities, and there are relationships among those entities. It doesn't get into the content of that data. And if there was a U.S. citizen involved, or the presumption that there was a U.S. citizen involved in this, you'd have to go to the FISA court to get yourself a court order so that you could mine that data very, very specifically.
Okay.
And that's not the case here.
Gentlemen, we're going to leave it there. David Sirota and General Spider Marks, thank you very much.